Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the SoMN podcast. We have a very special guest today. We have a good friend, maybe the greatest fisherman that I've ever met in my life. We have Mr. Geoff Mead is joining us as a guest. Very thrilled to have him here. He was supposed to be here a couple episodes ago, but now we got him finally. Before we get going on the conversation, just want to pay some bills first. Big shout out to at Bolton Mink Studios on the gram. Big shout out to Pelican Coolers. And we want to give a heartfelt message to Matthew Bradley Brozick that we miss you, we're thinking about you, and hopefully you're enjoying your time in New England, Connecticut, having some chowder, and maybe catching some striped bass off Long Island. So anyway, so we're here with Geoff Mead. We usually start out and do introductions or, kind of where you're from, what do you do, and then start talking about it. So I guess I'll hand it over, to you. Like, where are you from? What do you do? Any fun stuff you want to talk about, like right out of the chute?
Well, my name's Geoff Mead. I'm from Mankato native. So grown up here most of my life, all of my life. Left for about 2.5 years. And by way of a company, moving me to anywhere in the country, they moved me back to Mankato. So I agreed to move anywhere in the country with 3M Corporation a while ago. So I've been in industrial sales for about 12 years in the adhesives world. And as of last week, went full-time into farmland real estate.
Okay.
And so I am a farmland real estate agent.
Yeah, so I think we'd initially talked about doing like a fishing podcast, talking about southern Minnesota, catching fish and all that kind of stuff. I think Matt wanted to be here to do that, talk about fishing. I think he's doing like bass fishing tournaments with his kid, with Owen. He's a big muskie fisherman.
Yeah.
Which I think there's some crossover, some overlap between some friend groups because you guys are about the same age.
Yeah.
So I don't muskie fish at all. I've gone muskie fishing. I really did not enjoy it. So I don't know if you've been muskie fishing or not, but it's so I'm a little bummed out that he's not here.
Yeah.
But it's just not my jam. I mean, I've been trying to get on board with it, but it just seems.
Did you go with Matt?
No, it's funny. We were friends for about 5 seconds before I heard about his love of muskie fishing. I don't think we've ever gone muskie fishing. Actually, I think we've only gone fishing maybe once or twice, like ice fishing. I just don't see the allure. So I have some questions in the can. So what is your favorite type of fishing?
It's evolved to walleye fishing.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. I'm a Minnesota guy.
Yeah.
It got bred into me early.
Well,
But when I was a kid, I grew up fishing probably 5 to 6, some weeks, 7 days a week, when I could in the summertime. And then when I was old enough, I did the same, even ice fishing. I just enjoy it so much. And muskie fishing has never been something I've gotten into. I just enjoyed fishing in general, catching anything when I was younger.
Yeah.
I thought bass were pretty cool, probably because all the bass shows around. I was an early riser.
Yep.
I'd get up and watch like Bill Dance and Jimmy Houston and all these guys would be 5 a.m, and then I'd go fishing at Hinneker Pond, like for the rest of the morning or something. But so I liked catching bass growing up, and then my dad put the walleye bug into me, and I kind of got into it, and fishing's become more of like a challenge sport to me,
Yeah.
that I enjoy. I mean, it's leisure too, but
Who's the guy?
Yeah.
What's his name? Had a show for years in Minnesota. I think he's a South Chicago guy, but he's got a voice that's kind of like, you listen right here, you're going down there, you're going to jig, you're going to find a walleye.
Al Linder.
Al Linder, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
He'd be like the Michael Jordan of fishing to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Brozik has a nearly spot on Al Linder, right? His impression is hilarious. I would like to get him to record that
Man, I would like to hear it.
impression and maybe put it in, if we could embed that into the podcast, it would be freaking hilarious. So when I was coming in, we were driving around and I wasn't sure if people knew you more as an adult or if they knew you as the kid or the young man that worked at the local bait shop.
Yeah.
So like it was like the bobber stop,
Bobber
shop.
shop. Yep.
Okay. So can you take me back to that point in time? I was always curious, and just by like way of reference, I've known Geoff for it's coming up on 10 years, give or take. It's somewhere in there. Good friends, business partners, have done a ton of stuff together. Family spent time together. So I was thinking about stuff that I have no idea about, but then hearing about that point in time before that place closed,
Yeah.
finding out you worked there,
Yeah.
and then going. So take me back to the lead up to getting that job.
Well, I worked there. It was like the perfect college job for me.
Okay.
I mean, that place is, I don't know how long it was there when it closed. I think it was approaching 40 years. I mean, it's been around since the 70s.
Yeah.
It's kind of an iconic place. And one of those places that, like, it just, to me, is just awesome. Like, you go up north to northern Minnesota, there's still a few of them around. Just a smelly old bait shop. But they're just awesome. It's like the smell of new shoes, new car. It's like that bait shop place. But so obviously spent a lot of time going in and out of there when I was growing up. And then when I got into college, I thought, what better place to try and get a job than there? And they actually paid me quite well, for being at the time and being a college kid. And got to work there. I worked there for about 2.5 years, from like 18 to 21 range.
Okay.
Yeah.
So other kids are getting jobs at like Abercrombie and Fitch or like,
Yeah.
the bar or, they're like bouncing or something. So that was your local bait shop growing up.
Yeah.
Right. So
that was the one.
So where did you live when you grew up to where you could bike there? Like, where in Mankato?
I grew up in Lower North
Okay.
at first, down by the library.
Yep.
So I could bike just about anywhere.
Yeah.
I was biking to the pit all the time.
Yep.
And I mean, Mankato's a small enough town,
Yep,
you
yep.
can just hop on anywhere. But that's why I grew up in Lower North, and then 9th grade moved over to West Cato.
Okay. So when you walk in there to the bobber shop, is this job posted, or is it like that dude or those people, and you're like, you're looking for work, you're looking for like do you like remember how it happened?
It was just an idea I had. I was like, if there's a place I want to work, I'm going to the barber shop.
Okay.
Because growing up, I think I worked at Taco John's in a gas station, which
Okay.
is it's now a liquor store. Then I worked at Hy-Vee.
Okay.
And then I did, a few other things, just kind of random stuff. That's always been maybe it's kind of my nature. I don't like the boxy thing,
Yeah.
And I just walked in there one day and asked them. And to be honest with you, these guys didn't know me that well. I mean, I had a tackle box full of stuff, and usually was throwing artificial baits. But we'd go in and out of there, in and out of there. They knew who I was. But yeah, I just went in and asked them, would you have, you looking to hire anybody? And I think Paul Rosenberg, the owner, he was the owner the whole time I was there, had just bought it maybe a year or two prior.
Yeah.
And business was good, so they brought me on. I think I had to fill out an application and everything.
I remember that, like when I first moved to town in 2010, 2011, it was still open and frequented, and on riverfront in town. And then I would go in there because if you're not from the area, you're like learning what to do, and you can get the guide from the DNR or whatever.
Right.
So you're like, well, this lake's supposed to have this fish and whatever. I think the folklore around a bait shop is more about finding, it's the same question, like, where are they biting? What are they biting on? All these like variations of the same questions.
Yeah.
Because all the same fishermen come through, the hopefuls come in to try and gain some knowledge. So, do you remember how long it took for, they come in and they want to like talk to the, you know, like like the fish counselor, like,
Yeah.
so what are people buying today? And all this whole like litany of stuff. And you're like, well,
You had I don't know how many different types of customers, but it was just funny because you had the serious fishermen, right? They'll come in and BS with you, be friends with you, probably brag a little bit, act like they know everything, maybe have a little bit of an attitude, Mm-hmm. And then you'd have those guys like the BSers that didn't have anything to do, loved to fish. A lot of retired guys, right?
yeah,
They come in and get the scoop, might give up something to you too about what's going on where. Mm-hmm. And then you would have that sort of random crowd. It might be someone's mom that's buying bait. There was a lot of moms that would come through and buy bait for the kids. And those are the people you'd spill everything to because, you want to help them out.
highest chance of success.
Yeah, well, and they don't have a clue what they're doing or anything, and they're not going to tell anybody, So it's like, I don't know. I think it was pretty cool because I made friends with a wide range of people. I mean, today going around this town, I just fished the crappie tournament on Lake Washington last week, and it's amazing. Like, I'll be out on the lake today, and whether or not they know my name, they know my face from that place. So, I mean, I talk to guys that are in their 80s. I mean, just a ton of people that I met there. And that's kind of one of the cool things about Mankato in general is kind of, it's a big, small town. You can still know everybody if you try. And, so I don't know. If you hit it off with people, I loved fishing. I'd talk fishing all day. It was like Cheers or something, I mean, it was that place where you just had your regular customers, and it was pretty fun.
Yeah, I remember when Fleet Farm was coming into town.
Yeah.
And
Gander was the big one that hit down, but yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, okay, so Gander came to town, and those places were still open at the same time. And I don't remember when Gander opened, if it was early 2000s or late 90s or something like that.
Yeah, early 2000s.
But it seemed like those two places were sustaining, and it worked. But then as soon as I saw Fleet Farm coming in, I was waiting. Like, I would drive down Riverfront and look to the right and see and wonder how long. Because at that time, I think it was Gander, Fleet Farm, and the Bobber Shop. Right? So, and then I don't know, 6-7 months later or something like that, you would just, kind of wondering, are they going to sell? What's going on? And then I saw the sign.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. For the longest time, the Bobber Shop was the only place.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's kind of that iconic Bobber Shop, our bait store, And they used to run trips all the way up to Canada.
Yeah.
They had I was flying guided trips up there. We were still, when I was there, salting minnows for people going to Canada and stuff. Cool things like that
That's
these
crazy.
other stores aren't going to do. Yeah. I mean, that was one of the things I did, go scoop a pound of minnows or a gallon of minnows and dry them out in salt and freeze them for guys that because you can't bring live bait into Canada.
Yeah.
Or counting worms and cleaning all the dirt off them because you can't have the dirt in there and putting them in paper. But, I think as business consolidates, margins get smaller.
I know.
That type of pressure came into play. And the Bobber Shop did big business, but I don't know. Gander Mountain came in and put the pressure on, and at the time, Shields didn't have a real presence in the fishing world. They had more of the guns and the bikes and stuff.
Yep.
And now they've got a real legit tackle operation. And then you throw in Fleet Farm. So I think it was Gander, and then they came in behind with Shields, and then Fleet Farm came in, and it was just too much. And online shopping too, which actually people didn't know. Bobber Shop did quite a bit online. I was shipping. I used to talk to guys. I can't do the East Coast accent, but I shipped fishing suits to Burroughs and stuff. I mean, because people didn't want to pay sales tax. And
Guys calling from Brooklyn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That place really was pretty amazing, man, for a while there. And it's sad to see that happened.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it was a lack of loyalty. I don't think so much. I think it was a combination of too many options and squeezing margins in the industry, and the the online disruptor sales. I mean, you can buy whatever you want from anywhere now so quickly.
Yeah, I think it was, my kids were younger at the time. I mean, they're still pretty young, but they were, I guess little.
Yeah.
And it was the easiest place to get to because you could go to the bait shop, or then you could get maybe red worms or wax worms or maybe night crawlers at the Holiday on Riverfront. And so if you're down the hill where we are, I don't want to drive up to Shields or
go all the way in the mall.
Right.
Second floor.
Right. I don't want to do that.
It's hugely inconvenient.
Or go to Gander. But then when that place closed, we went there and I didn't know that it had closed at the time. And we went to go in and we saw that it was closed.
Yeah.
So, then I saw, we're going to have another big box store coming into Mankato now. It's like Bond Guards or Bomb Guards or something like that.
Yeah, they're coming. Yep, I just heard that too.
So that,
in the Gander store.
There's another one in that space, the Gander Gordman store.
Yeah.
So, do you recall how you were introduced to fishing? Like your first kind of,
I do.
first time that you went to where it actually stuck, not, when you were like 2, but the first time where it stuck.
Yeah. It's funny. My dad, so we used to live in the Homestead Apartments.
Okay.
And I have memories from this place, so I know I can remember 3 and prior.
Okay, holy crap.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
Because I struggle with names these days, but I can remember that.
I can't remember anything before 30.
Yeah. We moved to sell, like shortly thereafter, we moved to Lower North Mankato just before I turned 4, it was that summer. And I remember all that. But my dad used to take us to the Lions Pond.
Okay.
You know where that is?
I have no idea where's that?
Okay, Stadium Road, right? So past Jake's Pizza.
Yes, I drive
It's
by
like
it
the
all
retention
time.
pond on your left.
Yep.
Yep, the retention pond on your left. And that place, I remember in high school going back up there and just having like those flashback moments of like being a kid.
That place has a nice dock right now.
It has a very nice.
New.
It has a very nice dock, and you'd be surprised what swims in there. I mean, there's actually we've caught walleyes. We caught a fish that fed a family of 4. Sunfish, a huge sunfish.
Jesus.
Crappies. I've heard they've had nice perch in there. I've caught northerns out of there. Good sized fish. It's weird,
That is weird.
So that was the place. We used to just go down there and catch bullheads, and there was there was a man who passed away, a Lebanese guy. We still know the family actually. He passed away, but he used to go down there and catch catfish, and come home with a stringer of catfish in the apartment building, and cook those up. And I didn't really like to eat fish, even when we brought that huge sunfish home, and it was massive. I don't know how big it was, but literally, like my mom and dad ate it, and my sister and I probably just ate a little bit because we were just little kids, but it was a huge sunny. So that kind of that's where that's all it takes to get it into a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I said this before, maybe it sounds weird, but like the smells and everything of it, it just sticks with you. And so I don't know, because my dad would take me and I always just wanted to go. So I must have had that drive in me, or that desire.
Fish fever.
Always wanted to go. And it was one of those things no one had to ever ask me to do.
Yeah.
I was always asking to do it. And then I was this early riser. So I would be the kid. I would literally get up at like 4:30 naturally and go get a bowl of Frosted Flakes and sit on the couch. And I'd watch fishing shows for 2 hours before anybody was even awake,
That's insane.
And many of my summers were spent doing that. And then at, sun up, I'm on my bike. My mom and dad don't know where I am. I'm, down at the pit. They knew I was there probably, I'd grab my tackle box and my rod and ride my bike down to the Hinneker Pond, the pit as we call it, and fish to whenever I got sick of it or I got hungry.
And go home, eat something.
Go home and go play with my friends the rest of the day. So it was a good life, and it just got into me heavy. I mean, I fished all the time. I just loved it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back. I think my grandpa Bill had kind of a old dumpy cabin on the Fox River
Nice.
in
Green Bay?
No, Crystal Lake, Illinois.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah.
And so I think that it might feed like the Finger Lakes or the Channel Lakes, something like
Yeah,
that.
they hold walleye tournaments on the Fox.
Yeah.
It's good sauger fishing.
So when I looked up, and I have no frame of reference for that river aside from just the little, like kind of like my blinders on.
Yeah.
Then I saw a televised, geez, might have been a smallmouth bass tournament or walleye tournament on the Fox River.
Yep.
But my grandpa Bill, who's Palestinian, likes catfish. So like the Lebanese guy catching catfish and going home.
Yeah.
So the first fish I ever really recall catching was a channel cat.
Yeah.
Was a catfish.
Yeah.
And we would drive from Waukegan out to my grandpa's cabin, and that was on the Fox River. And my grandpa Bill would say that I had fisherman's luck. And so every time I went to get the pole, there was a fish on there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I catch this catfish, and so that is what. Like I still like catfish.
Yeah.
Like a catfish po' boy is really good, or smoked catfish or deep fried catfish is really good. And so that was what I thought was kind of a normal fish to catch and whatever. I had no frame of reference for, for more freshwater type panfish.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to Minnesota, there's almost a cultural difference. Like we
It's
don't
snobby.
right. It's like
They don't do that.
I never even heard of a walleye. I swear to God until.
There's a whole cat culture around here now, though.
It's coming back. I think you could always tell
is.
what kind of what kind of fisherman somebody is based on their their tackle. Like you can look in there and see if they're rigged up for catfish or rigged up for.
I got a cat rod.
Right.
It's waiting for you.
It's a cat rod. Yeah. So then I moved to Minnesota, and I had never caught a walleye. I think I might have been late 20s, maybe 30 when I caught my first walleye, and it's just didn't grow up going up to Canada or things like that, being a city kid, but then learning about how deep this culture is. I swear to God, it was a total just foreign concept to me that Mille Lacs was one of the greatest walleye lakes in North America, right? You go up there and there's a huge, there's Paul Bunyan and a giant walleye that you can drive by. Mm-hmm. So I think that just how deep the culture is, Lake Vermilion, going up all these special lakes in Minnesota. There's got to be a special place, I think, in fishing culture for the state of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Not because we live here, but I think it's known nationally
Oh yeah.
as being a special place to go and catch fish.
Absolutely.
So
like all around fishing.
right, like
You know what I mean?
everywhere.
You can go down south and catch a lot of bass and crappies and cats, but you can catch everything in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Upper Midwest, yeah.
So you don't have to give share any secrets or anything like that, but what would you name probably your favorite spots statewide?
Yeah.
Not the biggest fish or the best fish, but what are your favorite lakes to fish in Minnesota?
Yeah. Leech Lake. I love being up north.
Yeah.
I love fishing down here too. I'm seriously fishing openers this weekend. I'm not going up north this year, and I'm just giddy. I can't wait. So I'm already making all my plans, buying fishing lures I don't need, But Leech Lake is probably my favorite place to go fishing.
Okay.
It's the third biggest lake in Minnesota inland, I believe. It's 136,000 acres. It's huge.
That's huge.
I just love it up there. I love Walker. I love being up north. Through my wife, we have a family cabin just about, 10 minutes off the south end. And I love fishing that lake now too. Oh my gosh, great fishing. But
Well, we fished that lake
yeah,
with our kids.
absolutely. Yeah, we brought you there, right? So panfish, walleyes, muskie in that lake. I've caught one incidentally.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I think we were there. We caught a bunch
bunch of sunfish.
sunfish or pumpkin seeds, whatever you want to call them. Maybe one walleye
Yeah,
in the morning. I think you got up early and caught a walleye.
yeah,
And my youngest son Lincoln has fish fever. You know Lincoln.
yep.
He likes the fact that we had fish for breakfast because I think we made breakfast
Yeah, we fried them up. Yep.
and then we ate fish for breakfast. It was
Yeah.
like fish and eggs and like bread or something.
Yeah.
So to this day, he's like, we had fish for breakfast once, and I was like, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, that whole area, I mean, if you have pine trees and loons and all that, I mean, that's, when I fish, I'm not so much paying attention to that, but I'm still very much aware of it and
Feeling the energy of it.
feeling the energy of it. I mean, to me, like I always make funny jokes like Brainerd's like the Hollywood of the fishing world, you know, because that's
It is
where
the Hollywood.
that's where Al Linder is, and a bunch of the fishing shows are out of there.
Yep.
You know, they're based around that area. You know, or Baxter, that's where their office is. You know, it's just so I love being up there. Leech Lake is amazing. I've just started fishing Mille Lacs the last few years, and that's fun. It gets hit a lot, you know.
Yeah.
They all do though. So does Leech. I just love being up north, and Leech seems to be my little spot. We were for a time there. That was like before we had the cabin. It was our annual like summer spot for quite a while. We just kind of fell in love with it. I love Ely too. Love that.
Yep.
Yeah, little different. That totally different vibe.
It's a different kind of a very different than Mille Lacs or Leech Lake for
Yeah, like rustic.
sure. Yeah, seems more. It's almost like going to a different
Totally different deal.
like microculture.
Yep.
You know, just different kind of fishing, different vibe, different.
Even Lake Vermilion up there.
Yep.
And I've fished that, and I would say it's probably the most beautiful lake you can roll around on your boat. I'm sure there's plenty more that are just amazing.
Yeah.
But that's a huge lake
Yeah.
and great fishing of every time. But it feels like you shouldn't have a boat on that lake. You know what I mean?
Yep.
When you get accustomed to the boundary waters, which I've done a ton,
Yeah.
it's like we shouldn't be running motors through here. It's too pristine. You know?
Yeah. We.
It's awesome.
I think you hear about Leech Lake, Mille Lacs, Ely, Lake of the Woods, Lake Vermilion.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Lake Vermilion last summer,
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
and I had never been there. And we kind of kayaked around and paddled around, which it's a massive lake. But I had never. It's got to be. I would put it up there for the top 10 most beautiful lakes in North America.
Mm.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
We took a pontoon around there. Kind of fished and trolled and goofed off. Didn't really catch anything. But I think just the abundance of them. There's some shelf in Minnesota, like statewide, where it's like grassland, farming, and then there's a line or two that goes through the state, and it seems like it shifts from like black dirt to like rock.
That's They call it Canadian Shield.
So whatever.
Yeah,
It seems
that's
like-
that area.
So there's got to be something there where it's just like a diagonal line through the top third, top.
It's like northeastern and north central Minnesota. You get the Canadian Shield lakes, and they're like that kind of stained reddish. You know that they got the iron in them, and whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think
the Canadian Shield lakes. Yeah.
just seeing that. So the fishing I did growing up was either in rivers that went to and from Lake Michigan, and there was more. I think there's just it's a different kind of fishing where the kind of inland lake freshwater fishing is something very different. Because you probably need a big boat, to go out in Lake Michigan, whereas
Typically.
the Waukegan River would flow into my hometown, and salmon would spawn up that river.
Right.
And so we were seeing like huge fish in
Giant
this,
ones. Yeah.
like in this creek. And so we'd catch these, kind of late aging salmon that were, finishing their job.
You'd catch them. Yeah? You'd fish for them.
For sure.
Oh, that's cool.
Absolutely.
I want to do it really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a picture of my brother. He's got this just kind of fall green salmon that's just
Dying.
maybe tipping over.
Yeah.
It's really close, and it's this big. It's huge.
Yeah.
So, have you gone from fishing from the pit to these bigger inland water, these
Yeah.
freshwater lakes? Have you done the Superior thing or the Lake Michigan thing?
So I've started to go to Green Bay, which would be Lake Michigan.
Yep.
The Bay of Green Bay.
Northern.
That's probably like maybe 10 miles wide. So it's not like the full Lake Michigan effect.
Yeah.
But we've been in some pretty bad weather there. Yeah, so I've fished Lake Michigan. I really want to fish, and we've talked about this, Lake Superior. I've not really put any time in there. And it's funny because as I get better and better at walleye fishing, I start to find interest in thinking about doing other things again, either that I used to do or new things, because, as you can always get better at walleye fishing, but some days, it just doesn't matter. But I find my interest. We have so much around here.
Yep.
And maybe even just from like wanting to have different fish that I, would eat, like a grilled salmon or something like that.
Yeah.
It'd be fun just to catch it yourself. But I haven't done the Lake Superior thing. I have done Green Bay.
We should do the Lake Superior deal.
Yeah, we definitely should.
I'm just looking for this. I don't remember the name of it, but it was on Netflix. I'm trying to think. It's a pretty new documentary that came out, and they're just hammering the fishing industry as a commercial, cultural.
Commercial fishing?
Yeah, commercial fishing.
Yeah.
So, hey, Miles, do you remember the name of that documentary that was slamming the commercial fishing industry?
Wasn't it just the whales?
Yeah, there's some.
Had to do with the ocean fishing and stuff.
Yeah. We got. And my son Miles is here. He missed the bus today, so he's hanging out while we're doing this podcast. But we watched it, and then let's see if it pulls up. But they so to watch that with our with my kids, they were talking about the fact that why can't people just go and fish for what they want? Like, if you want fish, you should go catch a fish.
Yeah.
And so I'll find it and send it to you. But I mean, it's like, why can't you go and catch a freezer full of salmon or a freezer full of trout,
Right.
or if you want, go put a line in the water. So this whole thing was it was about they're basically overfishing the entire world.
Right. Oh, yeah. Right.
So do you think it would be sustainable to do that model? Like, do you think you could catch enough fish for the year and not buy fish from the grocery store or from Sam's Club or whatever big box it is?
Me personally?
Yeah, you personally.
Yeah. I would, but I think, that's a whole different thing, because I mean, I could do it. And I would do it in such a way that I would do it on an as kind of like I do now, as needed basis. I do more for sport, than I do, just something to go and do. But if I was, focusing on doing that, I don't know how sustainable that would be for like the general public.
Right.
But I don't think that fish is a staple diet in anybody. It's not a staple food in anyone's diet around here anyway. I mean, if you were to go to places in India and Africa and even the southeast and U.S. I mean, they eat a lot of seafood.
Yep.
It's not a staple here, and it's not a necessity. You know? And I'm all for conservation. I think Minnesota needs to change limits, even for
Same.
Technology's changed so much. I mean, I can take myself out fishing or people out fishing, and I mean, right now we could fill live wells of crappies and walleyes right now.
Yeah.
And do we need to? No, and I don't. But I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And I find that frustrating, personally.
Same. I know. I think we were talking about that. And there was an article that came out just in the last couple of months about, I think it was sunfish, either sunfish or bluegills. And we need to keep the big ones, like leave them in the lake.
Yeah.
Because I think they are the ones they're the mass producers.
Oh, they're so vulnerable, and they're the ones that, and it takes a long time for them in our cold water to grow that big. There was just there's a new world record caught. I don't know if you saw that. It was almost 7 pounds. It's like
Jesus.
6+ pound red-eared sunfish down in Arizona.
Holy
Caught by a
crap.
guy out of Wisconsin. And they catch huge panfish in those mountain lakes down there, like right outside of Phoenix. I think they're right outside of Phoenix, or within like an hour or two of Phoenix.
I think I got a feed on that. They were 7 pounds. We should look it up.
Yeah, it's not 7, but it's real close.
It's big.
And
Old guy.
yep,
Super old guy.
yep.
He was like 80 or
He
something.
was a Scotty.
Yeah.
From Wisconsin.
Of course, he's a Scotty.
Yeah.
Which I think, I'm not from Wisconsin, but just as a quick point of reference, I think there's a little bit of jealousy from the Scotties towards the Minnesotans because they think their lakes are just as good.
They got good fishing over there.
They do. It's amazing.
They do.
And I like my first roommate, might have been my second roommate in college, Kyle Kalashevsky from Waukesha, Wisconsin. He says that Wisconsin has more lakes than Minnesota.
Ooh.
He's like, you guys count like a puddle as a lake, and he's like, we actually count real lakes, and it's just
Ouch.
kind of
That sounds like a Wisconsin
right.
thing to say.
That sounds like a very Wisconsin thing
Yeah.
to say, and
Yeah.
he's like,
Those
he's
aren't
like,
real lakes.
Those aren't real lakes. That's a pond. You can't count that as a lake.
Vikings aren't a football team.
Right. I mean, I'm serious.
Threw that in underneath.
Yeah, check it out. Check it out. Look, 6.3 pounder.
6'3", there you go. Yep.
Holy moly.
Just a giant. And it's full of, look at it though. Look at its belly.
Right.
Full of eggs.
Well, and we were out ice fishing a couple months ago, and we caught a perch that had eggs. Mm-hmm. And I remember, my boys were like having some guilt or like some shame
Yeah.
that, like, oh no. And I think, like Lincoln, or Miles said, it's a mama. And I was like, well, look, we didn't, it wasn't intentional. We didn't know.
Yeah.
Because it had had an egg sac, and she's like, "Oh, really?" Yeah, of course. With a couple friends back home in Wisconsin, the current world record red-ear sunfish was also caught in Lake Havasu back
Like
in 2014.
Havasu it was. Okay. I was thinking it was a different
Thomas, I'm guessing Farchione, of Waterford, Wisconsin, hauled in another world record. Holy
unreal.
moly. Located south of the island, about half a mile north of Copper Canyon on the California side of the lake. They measured it at 17 inches long, and it weighed in at 6.25 pounds on a scale.
Wow.
So that is insane.
Yeah.
I was looking for a picture, but maybe,
There's a pic somewhere.
yeah, we'll see if we can get the images to pull it up. That's not it.
World record red-eared sunfish might get you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that, for me, I think we need to take another look at it. Like, we went out, fished a crappie tournament on Lake Washington. And there was easily 500 plus crappies caught. It's cold water. They were weighed and released instantly. And they had to be alive and well. Look at it. Yeah. It might be an old one.
Wowzers.
That's an old one. Yeah. They catch those giants down there. There you go.
This
That's
is
the
it
guy
right
right
here.
there.
That's it right there.
Yeah. Look at his belly. Chock full of eggs.
Yep.
It's the big ones that do that. But
Yeah, so that's what they were saying in the article from, I don't know who put the article out, but I think that's why they put that clamp on really having severe limits or just totally off limits, taking, in particular, sunfish, bluegills, kind of like, let's give them a timeout and a break, which I think if you're a fisher person, that might sound silly. Or, maybe like, well, what's the big deal? But the amount of joy that you can have catching those fish and just the whole ecosystem of it all. It's absolutely tremendous.
It's for me. It's not eating the fish. It's catching them. It's the
Yeah.
challenge of doing it.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to eating, it's like a communal thing. Like
Yep.
you know, like I'm gonna go out with somebody this weekend. You know, for opener, and we have a new real estate office.
It's like a potlatch, man.
And it's like we got guys from Iowa and different places coming to Minnesota, and inevitably they're talking about those things, fishing.
Right.
So I thought that'd be kind of neat. You know, let's keep a limit of crappies this weekend and maybe a few walleyes and make it happen. You know, introduce them to the state. So that's, to me, you know, is few and far between.
Yeah.
But you know, like when you do this enough, you can see, like this weekend, 500 crappies plus caught, and the big females that are reproducing in the 2-foot reeds are the ones that were, you know, the ones that were really winning the tournament, right?
Yeah.
And
Because they can fetch the.
you can easily devastate those fish quickly.
Yeah.
And fishing as a culture, if you go back and look at the old pictures from the 40s and 50s, they obviously thought it was an endless resource.
Yep.
And granted, there was a lot less people fishing, and I guess it wasn't harder to catch fish because they sure caught the crap out of them.
They caught a ton of fish,
Yeah.
and
And
even with the
Yeah.
decrease in technology, if you compare the two, you know, like the two
Today,
eras.
it's not even fair. you
Well,
know. It's fair, but it's like, if you know how to use your electronics, it's pretty easy
it's not
most days,
It's not fishing; it's catching.
for the most part.
Yeah.
Some
I know
days
that.
they're there and they don't bite, I'll tell you that. But
So we were there. I think we went up to, you know, Mille Lacs maybe a summer or two ago, you know, to visit, and there was a huge, and I still think it's an ongoing controversy.
ongoing.
About because they, you know, it's North America's greatest walleye lake and has this big claim to fame, but they put I think they banned it or didn't, you know, they didn't allow people to go fish for walleye, but they allowed, you know, Native peoples, you know, First Nation, you know, or Native Americans to net fish or cast fish, whatever it's called.
One of the lakes they still can, yes.
And so there's a huge thing where people protesting, and there were signs, and you know, like when you go up north, you have time to like read stuff you wouldn't normally read.
Right.
So I'm reading this DNR report about the amount of fish that are caught by, you know, traditional, you know, line casting
It's crazy.
versus net.
Right.
And it was surprising, the disparity in the. I think they do it by pounds, like pounds of walleye that come out of the lake, and
They do it by pounds.
pounds, right?
Estimation, yeah.
So the numbers were absolutely staggering. Like, it was, I don't remember which one was bigger, if it was the casting or like the net, or if it's line fishing. I don't remember. We should look it up and see. But it was like a 70-30 split
Right.
that I think the line fishing.
Line fishing gets way more pressure.
Right.
I think and I'm not going to claim to be an expert on this issue.
Yeah,
The people there's the people that love that lake.
right.
That's Minnesota's iconic up north
Right.
walleye lake.
Yep.
It's the beginning, you know.
They fight for it.
They fight for it. So the natives are allowed to net during times when the fish are spawning. And then I don't know that spawning gets complete. I believe, I don't know that that's 100% true, but I think it's true.
I don't know.
I
never heard of it.
Yeah, I think that's where the big controversy comes in. But then the funny thing is, you know, the DNR says the numbers are not good. It seems like there's some kind of weird, on a federal level,
Yep.
political thing going on. Because you can go to that lake. I've fished it. It's the biggest lake in Minnesota outside of Lake Superior.
I mean, it's got to be 14 by 19 miles.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's the biggest lake, and they call it the pond, you know, because it's just a circle.
There's like these mud flats in it, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of go out these flats, dipped down, not that deep.
But we my friend and I went there and fished it for the first time ever, and caught on a rainy day in the summer, and caught
Right.
like 20 walleyes, and they were all over 20 inches.
There you go, right here, man. This is from, if you do the screen mirroring, I think this article is from 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And there are new regulations. But from what they were saying, it didn't take that long. I mean, look at that. It didn't take that long for the population to rebound.
Well, they went to a no keep, and now they're letting you keep one fish. And the interesting thing is, like, you have to, if you go on that lake, and I always make fun of the guys that say this, the fish are starving in there, but the fish are thinner. It's weird.
Thinner?
They're thinner. They
So-
eat a perch and tulipy base in the lake, right?
So they're not these big fat kind of hogs. They're
Right.
they're slimmer or
They're
thinner fish.
slimmer.
Interesting.
They're not starving, but they say that was my southern Minnesota. They're not starving.
They're not starving.
Come on. I don't know. I mean, they talk about how global warming's killing the tulipies in the lake and whatnot, and I don't know that would be the case. I mean, our summers aren't that bad to begin with right now. I mean, we have some hot streaks, but so there's some talk about that once you get these fish, like Leech Lake is at a point now where it's hard to catch a fish under 23 inches. It's just hard. I mean, you can go up there and that's like your average, right?
That's crazy because they're looking at, you can harvest one walleye between 21 inches and 23 inches,
Right.
or one over 28.
Or 1 over 28. They want to control that.
Yeah.
And effective management is the big thing. But I think people want to fight about, why do we let the natives net them when they're most vulnerable, because we got to get them reproduce and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And
But we can't exceed the 87,000 pound allocation, basically.
right.
So there's 87,800 pounds, which how you track that is
Right.
just like funny math.
And I just think we need to go across the board a different way with limits and all that. Size limits,
Yeah.
how many you can keep. Nobody needs 6 walleyes.
Yeah.
Especially when they're like 20 inches. That
Yeah.
feeds, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
and
they're giving them away to their neighbors, or they're sitting there freezing them, and it's like that whole mentality. It makes people mad.
Yeah.
The older, I'll just say this, the older generation especially.
Yeah.
It's like, those are the limits, and I'm going to keep them.
Yeah.
And right now the Minnesota limit is 6, but certain lakes like Leech or whatever have 4, and then they have slats and all that. And I just think we need to do more with that, and do it with the panfish.
Yeah, I think the panfish kind of get the short end of the stick, but I think they're figuring out.
They reproduce easier. I mean,
Right.
There's a lot of them,
Yeah, there are.
but to grow quality fish isn't that easy.
Well, when I was a kid, in Waukegan, like, Lake Michigan being the biggest body of water, so you would hear about how great the fishing used to be, from the old timers, in the 50s and the 60s. It was great, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And then factories, industrialism, all this stuff happened on the shore. And so the salmon kind of went away. Mm-hmm. And the salmon fishing and trout fishing was crap. I think of, like the Superfund sites in America, which are basically like the toxic, the dumps. I think of the maybe top 20 Superfund sites. It's some weird number, like 3 or 4 are located in my home county, of Lake County, Illinois. So if you look at, some place like, I don't know, if you think Johnson or Evinrude or like OMC, they used to have their headquarters were in Waukegan. Mm-hmm. So, if you ever see like an old OMC motor or like a Johnson motor, Evinrude motor, there's a good chance it was stamped in Waukegan, Illinois. So huge fishing boat community, and the fish were gone. They had dumped all times. Who knows if that's true or not? But there's all these allegations about it. But the environment definitely supports that. I had never been walleye fishing until I came to Minnesota, which is different because I didn't grow up here. I didn't live here. It's not something that I did.
Last year we were on Lake Washington catching huge bluegills. They're so vulnerable. You could just drift over them on their beds.
Yeah.
You can see them on your side imaging. And I watched another guy out there catching giant bluegills alongside us. And we were throwing them all back. We kept a few, but not the big ones.
Yeah.
You know, the 7.5, 8 inchers, and the 9 and 10 inchers were going back. And
Wow.
if that mentality, I mean, act like you know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Act like you've been there before.
Yeah.
Don't be shocked, and have fun with it and let it go rather than have to, eat it or put it on your wall.
Yeah, I know so it's interesting. I don't remember if you have a lot of taxidermy or any, maybe a few.
I have one.
One, right?
And I feel really bad about it. But
Right.
I tried to revive the fish and
Right.
it died right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I've been to your house. And I'm like, I don't recall you having, it would seem.
It'll be in my new office in about a month.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that, for being such a huge fisherman. And I think, and it's one of your favorite things, if not your favorite, recreational activity.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of that crap in your house. Right. We're like, look what I killed.
Right.
Versus picture will suffice.
I got pictures. Plenty.
Yeah, I think we were thinking about going down to Florida in a few weeks, and we'll probably go fishing. Go to the Gulf, and we'll see what's available because they have restrictions and requirements.
Right.
Where like maybe you can't fish for red snapper or for grouper. Like grouper was a big thing. Like you had to be like waiting for 5 years or some long period of time, or they would just get in their boat and they would go just a bit further out in the Gulf, and maybe they're in kind of no man's land to where it's like not regulated, and they would fish the grouper anyway. Mm-hmm. So I think the ship has sailed on a lot of that stuff, whereas there's an old saying, fish don't have any feelings. Fish don't have feelings. Have you heard that before? Fish don't have feelings.
I always hope they don't.
Right, you know what I mean? Where you see these kind of complex, patterns of like watching different schools of fish, even freshwater fish that might seem to be not the brightest fish in the the lake, but they come together, and there's this whole idea that they have a community, because it's like the schools of fish. There's a reason why.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more protection and hunting and all that stuff.
So it's like
climates they want to be in.
I'm trying to get my kids to adopt some of this.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the ship sailed on some other generations, but
Right.
I think this one we could probably,
I think it's in the younger generations. It's kind of there,
yeah.
but
But like, we must fill the fish board, then like hang 20 walleye on the fish board.
yeah. They used to have it with muskies and everything back in the day.
Yeah.
Just giant muskies all the way across the board. It's conservation's big, or it won't be around.
Yeah, I turned 40 a couple weeks ago, and my mom gave me a photo album for my 40th birthday, and there's a picture of me holding like a little fish. Like I'm probably 2,
Yeah.
and then I'm like holding a fish. So it was just deep in there. But no, I think we're getting close to time.
Yeah.
I think we're 5:09, and I'm thrilled. Actually, we got to talk for about an hour, just pure fishing.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be unfortunate to segue into some other lame topic, like let's talk about the crop report. But I think if you have a chance, to spread that love or share that different mentality about how to eat fish, conserve fish, have fun with it, then I think we're then I think we're 10 steps ahead then.
Yeah.
So fishing opener I think is coming up this weekend, right?
Right.
Or soon. I think
Yeah. It's Saturday.
yeah.
It's Friday. Yeah. Midnight.
Okay.
Friday night. Saturday
So-
morning.
When do you get ready to go, and when are you going to head out and do your thing?
Getting ready already.
Yep.
I think I have a plan right now to put my boat in Friday night and leave it on Lake Washington so I don't have to deal with that. Normally that's a lake. I used to actually not fish the opener really.
Yeah.
This year's going to be so good. The weather pattern is setting up amazing. We're on the
Okay.
warming trend.
So you're like a barometric pressure kind of guy. You watch that stuff.
I don't watch that, but I just pay attention to what's been going on and where we're going in terms of like consistent weather
Okay.
and water temps.
Okay.
And the fish are going to be very predictable. So it should be a good opener.
Okay.
And the river's low too for people that want to fish the river.
Mm-hmm.
The river's low, which makes fish location more predictable and
Yep.
easier, and the water's clearer, so it's easier to catch them,
Because
in
they
my
have the
opinion.
pool up.
Yeah, and you know, it's not all muddy and ripping where they can see things better. So there will be lots of fish caught this weekend,
Okay.
I believe. And the crappie fishing, my plan is to do some walleye fishing
Okay.
all morning and then fish crappies and just have a good time. Yeah, I mean, I just love that. I don't know. I love it. It's like I get anticipation. Like, am I gonna, you know, there can be people like all over these spots. You know, I'm like, I'll be on the lake at 4:30. I will guarantee you. So,
Okay.
pretty shortly thereafter.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
All right. So I'd like to close with some questions for everybody, just, you know, kind of fun ones. What's your favorite freshwater fish to eat? The taste.
You know what? Okay. This is probably not the best answer. Okay. I love walleye fresh out of the lake. Like,
Yep.
there truly is, if you eat them in the boundary waters, it's different.
Yep, it is different.
You fillet them and take them right there.
Yep.
So that's really amazing. But I'll tell you, I think burbot.
What?
Yeah, burbot. And they're coming on in huge popularity now.
I don't even know what that is.
It has a relation to the cod, the lingcod, I think. It looks like an eel,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's brown.
Okay.
It's not a dogfish. They're not in the lakes down here. They're in deep cold lakes.
So what's it called?
A burbot, so good.
How do you spell that?
Burbot.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they're brown and yellow and have an eel body, and they have these little whiskers, kind of like look like a bullhead, but they kind of look like a bullhead, but they get really big. And they're delicious. I mean, very good. And you could cook those. Like, people have the tendency to like fry walleye, which we've been doing a lot less of, and
Yeah.
it's really good.
Oh, I see. There it
different
is.
ways. But you can take the back straps off of these burbot, and I don't know if you would eat one that big. I don't know if they're gonna see that picture or what.
Holy moly. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to eat that.
But
Sorry.
they're good, man. And the old man saying in this is it's the poor man's lobster.
Yeah, it looks like, I was going to say, this looks like lobster.
You know,
If you go here,
it's just good. It's just straight up
you
good.
know, is that burbot? Yeah, I think there's a, what does burbot taste like? It looks like lobster, like this right here.
Yeah,
That looks like lobster.
yeah, it's good, man.
Is it buttery?
Yeah, we when we ate it, we put it in foil with lemon and butter
Yeah.
and wrapped it up real tight and cooked it, and it was super moist and delicious,
There you go.
firm. It's good.
I've never even heard of that fish.
Yeah,
So where do you catch that? I mean, is it,
like you got to go up north for the most part. They got to
Okay.
be in the deeper, colder lakes.
okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay,
Leech,
so-
Leech, Mille Lacs, a ton of the lakes up north have them, but they don't have them down here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's news to me. That looks delicious.
yeah.
look
They
at that.
thrive in the Canadian Shield lakes. Like Lake of the Woods is full of them.
So, okay, so Tony, you like fish? What's your favorite freshwater fish?
I mean, I can't go wrong with walleye either.
Yeah, walleye is kind of the king, I think.
Walleye's king, but I think if you like frying fish too, I mean, they all taste good. Bass has a little of
Yeah.
a different flavor to
Yep.
it. It honestly does. But sunnies, perch, northern's great. You just have to learn how to get the bones out of them.
I like northern. I think it's just a hardier. It's easier to work with in terms of. I think it's a bit more forgiving because there's such a muscly, aggressive fish.
Yeah.
So you can do a lot to it, and it's still going to hold together pretty well.
Yeah.
And and it travels well. For me, it's crappie. I like the flavor, I like the taste. We made that crappie curry.
Yeah, did
That
you?
was off the chain.
So
It was
good.
so good. So favorite saltwater. Man, I don't know.
Sea bass.
Yeah,
Easy.
sea bass. Easy.
I love a miso glazed sea bass.
Yeah.
I fell in love with it at, well, let's see, Tao in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Man, one of my top meals. Tao, miso glazed sea bass, and beef and broccoli.
So
But miso glazed sea bass to me is really good.
You're clearly someone who takes care of yourself.
And what
So
else?
why don't you screen for colon-
That'd be my top one, I think. Sea
I
bass.
think you can't go wrong with that. Tony, what about saltwater fish? I don't know.
We just had grilled redfish when we were out in Green Bay fishing walleyes.
Yeah.
And a friend of ours, my friend's dad, he was just down fishing redfish in Louisiana.
That sounds amazing.
And we grilled those
Yeah, I think it's
with just some seasoning on it. And it was, saltwater fish is so much different. And I'll say this, it's better.
it is better.
It's
I mean,
so good.
we
it's so
watched this video on how to fillet every fish.
Nice.
So there's that snapper,
Yeah.
and I think he's like 30 fish. So it's the cod, black cod, white cod, and then even if it's probably not cod, it might be like porgy or something else.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite is still I really still like red snapper.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably my favorite. But this guy will go and he fillets all the fish. I do like mackerel too and sardines and all that.
Sardines.
So this video is great, and he goes through and we watched this video before we went fishing with you a couple months ago to kind of work on filleting fish.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. In this one, he like breaks the gill plate and just pulls
Nice.
it out, spine and all. But you can see he'll go through, and I'd prefer to eat fish over like chicken or steak.
Yeah.
And I used to like, steak better.
So that would be like, you can do a Tulabes out of, bronzino. That's good.
Yeah, branzino's really good too.
Pan-seared bronzino with the skin on.
Yeah, because
That's good.
that's the sea bass.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Just really forgiving, beautiful fish. But then the pollock, I think this is what people, this is still, I think, my favorite.
Red snapper.
Yeah, it's just, you
Do
can
you like
really,
it stuffed like that?
how you described, you made that burbot.
Mm-hmm.
Burbot. So we'll make red snapper foil packs like you do on the
Yeah.
grill.
Yeah.
Like with like hamburger or something.
Uh-huh.
We'll do foil packs, but instead it'll be like tomatoes, red pepper, yellow pepper, green pepper,
Yeah.
and we'll make like seafood foil packs on the grill
Sounds good.
with huge chunks of red snapper.
Yeah.
And that's really it's a very simple, straightforward.
Getting hungry, man.
Onion, garlic, salt, pepper. So it's got this kind of savory sweetness.
Yeah.
And we'll do that and just put these big chunks in there.
Had a bad experience in Mexico with red snapper. Doesn't help me.
There's a lot of different ways to go with that comment. I'm just saying it's.
Oh my goodness.
So-
Yeah. All right. Sorry.
So there's
Underhand.
the catfish. But yeah, but then I think the second pollock, I think, is what they use in like the fish sandwiches.
Yeah.
And it's probably not really cod you're getting.
Pollock. Pollock is like
But that's my favorite all time. That's number one right there.
salmon.
Yeah.
I love salmon. Just had a bunch.
I say salmon, but I don't want to be like too basic or generic.
No, that's the best.
You know what though? It's totally different than every other fish.
Yep, it's special.
It's its own deal.
But I always want
And
to
I love
catch.
salmon, but not more than sea bass. And
Always want to catch one of these.
oh yeah,
So I'm hoping to go down there and catch.
a wahoo.
Go catch.
I think it's a wahoo, or is
Mahi.
it a
It's like mahi
mahi
or
mahi? No, it's not. Yeah. There's like several fish that look just like
that have that big boxy head. So I'm gonna go try and do this.
dolphin fish. There's a dolphin fish that looks just like that too.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how buttery it is when
Yeah.
he's going through it.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite. And look at that, how far the fillet extends up over the head.
Mm-hmm.
Like right behind that, like the gill plate.
That's the thing about saltwater. A whole new game.
Yeah.
They all got different bone structures. Well,
So that's what's intriguing to me. And look at this meat. I mean, it's
looks like tuna.
almost like sushi grade, like sashimi grade.
It looks like tuna or swordfish.
Yeah, it just looks amazing.
No.
So I don't know. I want to get into that if we can. He takes some crazy stuff though, man. Trying to think what else was there that was really cool. Yeah, he cuts these salmon steaks though. These bone-in salmon steaks. They were absolutely amazing. So just wanted to end on that because it's before dinner. But if you ever want to check that out, it's basically how to fillet every fish.
Yeah.
And it really gets you jacked up to go and actually catch fish and do it in an honorable way and then eat it.
Yeah.
And then go back out and do it again. But look at these steaks. They're amazing.
That's what I've been doing around here lately. I don't like I like fried fish, don't get me wrong. But there's so many other things to do. That's
Yeah.
what I was telling you about the curries and stuff.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I think the fried fish gets harder to deal with. But look at that tail. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Yeah, fillet of that. Well, on that note, really appreciate you coming down, talking fish, talking some food. Hope you had a good time.
I did.
Love to have you come back. Can talk real estate and all that kind of stuff. I did want to get into some other topics and see what's up.
Yeah.
Want to talk hoops, a little bit of hip hop, some faith, belief systems, all that kind of stuff, and some farm real estate. But I'm glad this one got totally fished out. So that's
Easy
awesome.
to do.
So thank you, Tony. Thanks, Bolton Manx Studios.
Yeah,
thank you,
thanks,
Mr. Mead.
everybody.
Appreciate you. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Please view, click, share, subscribe. And if you like fishing, get your license and get out there. And I am now starving.
Dude, so
real.
hungry. My mouth is watering.